This about to be war on the U.S. soil. Let's get into this video.
Security warning right here in the U.S. from the FBI and Homeland Security, warning of potential threats to public gatherings. The timing of this and why they're concerned tonight. Here's our Chief Justice Correspondent Pierre Thomas with late reporting.
Tonight, FBI and Homeland Security officials are warning U.S. law enforcement about the potential for terror inspired by that deadly ISIS attack in Moscow targeting a concert hall. The concern, according to the bulletin, violence targeting mass gatherings such as sports stadiums, concert venues, or houses of worship in the United States. Law enforcement told to be on the lookout for any suspicious activity. The bulletin coming just days before millions will gather to watch the eclipse on Monday. Authorities say following the Moscow attack, ISIS and its supporters celebrated the assault and shared graphic and violent attack footage. The terror group calling for similar attacks in the United States.
I'm told U.S. law enforcement is being urged to take this bulletin seriously. Sources
حاليا الاحتلال بيقوم بإطلاق النار بشكل كثيف جدا على هذه المنطقة. شباب بيقوم بإطلاق النار بشكل كثيف جدا على هذه المنطقة. يعني حاليا زي ما انتم سامعين يا الله.
Well, we've committed as a NATO member that we defend every inch of NATO territory. Then we'll have something that we don't seek and that we don't have today. American troops fighting Russian troops. American troops fighting Russian troops if he moves into other parts of NATO.
Some new video that we have just gotten in of what's happening there on the ground. This is the aftermath of one of the strikes. The U.S. hit, we understand, 85 targets. You can actually see this in the air. You can see the strikes on the ground from this video here. And you can hear it as well as those on those impacts. U.S. hitting Iranian-backed militants who were responsible for the drone attack in which 3 American soldiers were killed and dozens more were injured in Jordan. According to the U.S. Central Command, the strikes lasted 30 minutes. Now, they are characterizing this as successful, but I want to be clear when we say that, that would seem to imply that there's success and they're done, and it's nowhere near the truth. Our response began today. It will continue at times and places of our choosing. The United States does not seek conflict in the Middle East or anywhere else in the world. Now, while Biden says...
President Biden once again claims he can't do anything to fix the border crisis.
There's no guarantee that I have that power all by myself without legislation.
500,000. Yeah, I'll just continue. And a COVID cover-up. Senator Rand Paul says 15 federal agencies knew about the virus research.
This basically is a smoking gun that ties Anthony Fauci and NIH to the funding of research that may well have led to COVID-19.
That is crazy. Meanwhile, Scrabble releasing a less competitive, more inclusive version to the game to appeal to Gen Z.
You can play, Brian.
Essentially, it lets you cheat, and apparently people like that.
I can finally win. The second hour of Fox and Friends starts right now, and remember, mornings are better because you're our friend.
All right, friends.
Customs and Border Protection. This disruption started at about 1:30 on Sunday, and this happened at the Paso del Norte Bridge in El Paso, Texas. Now, this connects El Paso to Ciudad Juarez, Mexico, and CBP says that they deployed physical barriers to stop this attempted mass entry into the United States. Why are we seeing this right now? Well, you probably remember.
Border standoff ramps up. Now you've got this growing list of Republican governors across the country who are standing by the Texas Governor Abbott, who has put razor wire on his border to preserve and protect his own state.
perspective. Don't question their objective, but I got a lot of questions. How these kids molested, but nobody's been arrested. Read it in the testament, these children are protected, so I'm fighting all these.
With today's decision, millions of Arizonians will soon face an even more extreme and dangerous abortion ban than they did before. There are now 21 extreme state abortion bans in effect across the country. 1/3 of all women of reproductive age now live in a state with an abortion ban. And all of these bans, including the one upheld today that was upheld by the Arizona Supreme Court, are a direct result of the Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade. President Biden and Vice President Harris will continue to stand with the vast majority of Americans who support a woman's rights to choose. And they will continue to fight to protect reproductive rights and call on Congress to pass a law restoring the protections of Roe v. Wade for women in every.
Tonight, breaking news as we come on the air, the tornado threat right now and the severe storm threat worsens over the next 24 hours, several states. And tonight, the Arizona Supreme Court upholding that state's 160-year-old abortion ban, one of the strictest bans in the nation. The reaction coming in at this hour, the justices in Arizona upholding that law from 1864. The law made before Arizona was even a state, before women had the right to vote. Tonight, Arizona is a key battleground, as you know, this November in the presidential race. So what does it mean in the race for president? Also tonight, for the first time, the mother and father of a school shooter sentenced to up to 15 years in prison each for their son's deadly school shooting. The apology from the father in court, but what the families of the victims then told both of those parents in the courtroom.
To bring you this video within seconds. Breaking news from inside the Capitol building. Anti-Israel protesters just shut down the largest cafeteria on the Senate side, and they were chanting, according to our producers there, and they were saying that the Capitol Police are chanting everybody out or be placed under arrest, and the protesters were shouting back, this is the house of the people. The Senate can't eat until Gaza eats. Fox News has now learned that many of those activists are the same ones who interrupted Secretary Lloyd Austin's testimony earlier today during a Senate Armed Services hearing that was looking into the military budget. Now, we have seen so many of these protesters now show up, even outside the Wilmington, Delaware home of the President of the United States. They follow Biden around everywhere he goes now, every state. And they may not have been protesters, but the vote against him that was uncommitted in places where we've seen.
Abortion is back front and center in the 2024 presidential race, thanks to a somewhat surprising announcement from former President Donald Trump. Annie's following this morning for us. And Annie, Mr. Trump said that he would leave the issue of banning abortions up to individual states.
That's right. That's the big headline. This is an issue that's driving people to the polls this election season. And the comments on the campaign trail come as today an Arizona court is expected to announce a decision on whether to keep a 2022 law that allows abortions up to 15 weeks or reinstate a near ban on the procedure. So let's get you up to speed on this. Former President Trump is now facing backlash from his base for his latest stance on abortion. Trump says he supports exceptions in the case of rape, incest, and when the mother's life is in danger. But instead of a federal ban, he's punting to the states. He is still, however, proudly boasting for appointing the Supreme Court justices who helped overturn Roe v. Wade. Now, hours after the announcement, the Biden campaign released a new
Through several steps, including expulsion of several Russian officials as a consequence of their actions. I've also signed an executive order authorizing new measures, including sanctions to address specific harmful actions that Russia has taken against U.S. interests. I was clear with President Putin that we could have gone further, but I chose not to do so. I chose to be proportionate. The United States is not looking to kick off a cycle of escalation and conflict with Russia. We want a stable, predictable relationship. If Russia continues to interfere with our democracy, I'm prepared to take further actions to respond. It is my responsibility as President of the United States to do so. But throughout our long history of competition, our two countries have been able to find ways to manage tensions and to keep them from escalating out of control. There are also areas where Russia and the United States can and should work